to speak to the Member of Parliament for Bongo, Edward Bawa. Good evening, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Great. And congratulations on that successful manifesto launch.
Thank you very much. I think that it is purely when you are motivated by genuine concern for your people, it inspires you to write and organize a very good manifesto launch.
All right, let's get into the details, and we want to zero in on Mr. Mahama's first 120-day social contract with the people of Ghana and some of the issues that were raised in there. First off, the former president and flag bearer of the NDC is on governance, is looking to nominate within the first 14 days a complete list of cabinet ministers for parliamentary approval and to constitute the leanest and most efficient government under the Fourth Republic in the first 90 days in office. We're looking at the size of government and the numbers and the ability to constitute this lean and efficient government within the first 90 days. What exactly is the plan directly to achieve this?
Yeah, so thank you very much. I think that first, let me make it very clear that, specifically, I am mandated to speak on the energy sector. But it is also important that at least whilst I'm on your platform, if you raise issues like this, I should be able to make some comments on them.
Very well.
You know very clearly that His Excellency the President, based on a lot of proposals that have come out, people had indicated that looking at the size of our population, and over the years, and based also on the experimentations that other governments within the Fourth Republic had made, we realized that we could at least run government business with a limited number of people. So he had actually, somewhere last year thereabout, indicated that he was going to run a very lean government. And so he gave a proposal that he was going to have 60 ministers, and this includes even the regional ministers and deputy ministers, and that he was not going to go beyond that particular, level. Clearly, what he intended doing was, one, we are facing a situation where the country is really bleeding. The country is going through very serious challenges, and therefore government must be seen, one, to be the one being very responsible in terms of judicious use of its resources. And therefore, based on the calculations that he has made, and looking at the fact that he has actually been a president before, he knew very clearly that he did not need more than 60 ministers to be able to run his government. And he has cleared, he has some clarity of thinking as to how that can be achieved. And that's why he indicated that in 14 days, he was going to first make sure that he names all his ministers, appointees, and then submit that list to Parliament for Parliament to vet them, to go through the various processes as prescribed by our Constitution. But he went further to say, in most cases, sometimes you realize that government comes into power, and then for 6 months they have not finished with the appointments and other things. But because of the seriousness of the situation that we find ourselves in, it is important that he ensures that all his representatives in the various key areas are appointed. And that's why he has given that in 90 days, and that's about 3 months, in 90 days, he will be able to establish one of the leanest, in fact, the leanest government that will prosecute the agenda that has been proposed in the Constitution, in the manifesto that we launch on Saturday.
All right, let's get into the energy sector. And flag bearer John Dramani Mahama is promising energy for sustainable development. Now, under this, he says he will initiate the Light Up Ghana project to support the 24-hour economy by resuming the Universal Street Lighting Program, promptly resolve all disputes between upstream oil and gas players and the government. Let's take it one after the other and look at the Light Up Ghana project. What exactly will this entail?
You know that in the first place, the issue of lightening our streets and our communities is an issue of national security. It's an issue of also personal security human security for our people. Indeed, you know that when you move through the streets of Accra, let's just even Accra because it's in Accra that two of us are in, you see how dark the place is. Sometimes when you are even flying and you are landing in Accra in the night, you see how dark the city looks like. And because of the fact that we also think that we need to have the power sector needs to support the 24-hour flagship program that he has proposed. It is important to have all places lit properly during the night. Indeed, my brother, as a country, we do not actually have a street light policy. I'll give you a typical example. You have a situation where somebody is, the Ministry of Energy goes to say, Bongo to put on street lights. The Ministry of Energy has put on the street light, all right. But as to who maintains the street lights, it becomes a problem. Is it the municipal or maybe the district that is responsible? If it's on the road, is it the road and highways that are responsible in maintaining it? We do not have a clear policy as to how street lights are even managed in this country. And one of the proposals is that we would be bringing out a framework that will clearly demarcate the rules and those who are responsible. And we intend doing that with a third-party insurance cover. So, for example, you have a situation where you can say that, look, the whole ceremonial streets of Accra, you give it out to, maybe say a contractor who deals with it. But that is supported with an insurance cover. Said that at the end of the day, I know that if I am driving through the streets of Accra, I know that there's a person who is responsible for that. The insurance company that is providing that you are paying the premium to also is very clear in his mind as to how to support the contractor to be able to work in this area. Because we have come to a situation where consistently government tries to put street lights in all places, and within a week you realize that they are gone either through theft, either through people coming to road users hitting and running. And so because of some of these things, we say that we are going to have a clear policy as to the ownership of this, to who is supposed to maintain that, but most importantly is to make lights, because if I have to run a business in the night at 1 a.m., I would want to be comfortable that where I am running my business, whether it is maybe in a pharmacy or whether it's in a fuel station, that it is properly lit because of the issues of security. So that is what is important. So these are part of the ingredients that will generally support the flagship program of the 24-hour economy.
Well, there's also talk about resolving disputes between upstream oil and gas players and the government of Ghana. Would this in any way have TOR as part of its plans?
No, so TOR falls under the downstream sector. But yes, TOR will be dealt with. But in the upstream sector, look, let me give you, there are two major issues that, for example, we can deal with. One has to do with GRA and for the GRA and then the IOCs. You have a situation where they do not have clarity as to what they are responsible, what they are supposed to pay in terms of their tax obligations. They are there, and before you realize, you have GRA officials come into their offices asking that they need to pay some taxes here and there. Now, because of that, as we speak now, there's a major dispute between Talo and the government of Ghana through GRA. We are saying that some of these things can be dealt with if it is done transparently. So from the word go, if I know that I have an agreement with you as a sovereign state and that you operate within my territory, there should be clarity as to what your tax obligations are. And what people, because one of the things that IOCs who really invest so much into their businesses would want is the issue of certainty of regulation. So I know that if I'm investing, I know that within this particular jurisdiction, these are the type of taxes I'm supposed to pay. And this is how they are paid. These are the risks I'm supposed to do. But I do not just sit in my office and within the twinkle of an eye, I see a revenue official enter into my office and tell me that I owe X, Y, Z, without really knowing as to where this thing is premised on. So that's one aspect. The other aspect has to do with the fact that some, preventable issues, like, for example, the issue we had with ENI. Look, because of the conflict that we had with ENI, for almost 4 or 5 years now, there has been, a curtailment of investment in our sector. Why? IOCs, they speak to each other. They know that, for example, I have a colleague, IOC, that is in your country. You are having a dispute with him by virtue of the fact that you are breaching certain agreements you came to when you signed the petroleum agreement. Indeed, if you look at most of the IOCs now, they are moving to our neighbors, that's in Cote d'Ivoire, to invest in that area. Look, we had our highest production in terms of crude oil somewhere in 2019. As we speak now, we are declining in terms of the amount of oil that we produce in the country. So we are saying that, look, we are going to resolve these issues, the issues of contractual issues, the issues of taxes, and all other things that the impediment that is making IOCs come to invest there. Because you know why? We are running against time. We are talking about the transition, energy transition. where fossil fuels are supposed to be phased out. Meanwhile, we have these assets that are stranded under the belly of this in our country. We must find a way of exploiting this particular resource and ensuring that we use them to the betterment of our people. The only way we can do that is to create Ghana and create an environment that will make it very conducive for the IOCs to come. We are not saying that to just give them easy deals and what have you. No, but let's be very transparent. All that businessmen want is transparency and clarity of policies that they can look at and agree with and start their investment. That is the only way they can tell their shareholders that this investment I'm doing in country A or country B will yield these dividends because they have clarity of rules, they have clarity of policies, and that they respect sanctity of contract. That is exactly what we do. And if you look at this current government, because of the fact that they arbitrarily just terminate contracts, they change the terms of agreement and what have you, we have found a way of, as a country, now falling back to countries like Cote d'Ivoire, who were ahead of them in terms of production of crude oil in this country.
Honorable, one of the major issues in the sector has to do with premixed fuel distribution. How do you hope to resolve this issue when indeed you are elected into power?
So there are two things, and it's part of the thing. So there are two things that we are looking at. One is to first look at the transparency of it. Now, you have situations where premix now, if you go to the communities, the fishing areas, premix, the administration of premix is being handled by party officials. You have situations where party chairman, local chairman, and other things are the ones who are the premix chairman and what have you in the various areas. Indeed, sometimes you go into certain communities and the chairman of the premix committees are not even fishermen themselves. And so you see that they divert it. And I'll tell you, if you look at premix is just, if you look at the difference between premix and then diesel, it is not that very huge. And so because of that, what they do is that sometimes they remix it and sell them as adulterated products, even for you to use in your car. So it is one area we will have to streamline properly. That's the first point. Secondly, we have also indicated that, look, beyond just using, fossil fuel to run our boats, we are saying that, look, it is possible because there are some examples in other countries where with very small electric engines, they can power their canoes into the waters to be able to fish. And so we will run these two things concurrently, having a transparent way of ensuring that the fishermen take control over the administration of the premix and not to hand it over to party officials, and two, to also introduce in a way, and because that becomes also part of the sustainable energy efforts that we are doing, that to introduce a bit of electric powered motors that can actually propel these particular canoes and other things for them to go and fish. So it's a two-way thing that we are doing: transparency in the administration of the premix, and two, also gradually introducing electric motors that will be used in this fishing activity.
Honorable, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to future engagements on the NDC's policies to develop the energy sector of the country. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you for having me, my brother.